Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful November. Oh my God, already in November. We should have known that. We've done a couple shows in November. It's a beautiful Tuesday, November 18th. Lots of big stuff from around the world of sports. We saw an incredible football weekend with lots of walk-offs, overtimes, and incredible finishes in the NFL. We had incredible comebacks in college football. We had incredible wins in college football, surprising losses. We'll go over everything and more. We'll also talk about the UFC from the weekend, a huge card that ended in a brawl at Madison Square Garden. People banned from the sport for life. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about basketball, and we will go over the major hire in the world of college football. Virginia Tech has their new coach. But let's start with the college football playoffs. The playoff committee is going to give out their third list today. Their third one. We are at the tail end of the regular season. Just a couple of weeks remaining, two of them in the regular season to be exact, before we start to hit postseason, playoffs, championships, conference championships, bowl season, the actual playoffs. So these rankings are starting to become real. This is going to be a huge deal for everybody when we get to see these rankings. But we're going to take a look at my rankings, starting off at number 25. I am putting Tulane in the top 25. I know they took a bad loss earlier this year to a UTSA team that doesn't really have any business beating a top 25 team. But Tulane, very much in that college football playoff race. And when I look at teams that have a chance of making the college football playoffs, this college football playoff ranking, I'm putting Tulane up there as that third team that could make a run to the postseason. They're at number 25 for me. 24 is going to be Houston. They're 8-2 in the Big 12. They have title hopes as far as a Big 12 title goes. If they can win their games down the stretch, they will have a spot in the Big 12 title game, and anything can happen from there. The winner of the Big 12 is going to get in. Maybe they can even be a two-bid league with the way that Texas Tech is playing, but Houston's got a shot. They're in at number 24. North Texas, another group of 5 entry for me here at number 23. The Mean Green have been incredible all season long. Their one loss so far has been to USF. Now, they got absolutely destroyed in that game, but it's a good USF team. It's a good loss. North Texas currently at that pole position of the American Conference. They're going to be very much in the mix for that group of 5 spot. At number 22, we're going with SMU. The Mustangs made the playoffs last year, and they kind of did it the same way they're doing it this year. They kind of sit in the back. They don't get a lot of attention. And then in the last couple weeks of the season, people look at the standings and they say, SMU, where did they come from? SMU up a couple of spots from last week's ranking. For me, SMU is a real threat. If they win out, and if one of Georgia Tech or Virginia slips, they are going to the title game, and I think they've got a real shot of winning it. Tennessee back in the rankings this time at number 21. They're still a really good team. I don't know if they're going to make the college football playoffs, but Tennessee, a very good football team that can beat anybody. Their offense has been maybe the best in college football. Their defense, on the other hand, that could use a little bit of work. It's not perfect, but they could be a little bit better. At number 20, and maybe I'm crazy for this, I've got JMU, James Madison, at number 20. They are my number 1 group of 5 team. I know I have 3 group of 5 teams ranked here, but JMU is the real deal. Their defense is consistently one of the best in the country. One of the best against the run. They have only allowed over 300 yards one time all season long. They held App State to 1 rushing yard last week. They have been dominant. On the other side of the ball, they've been blowing everybody out recently. Ever since a scare against Georgia State 14-7, they haven't put up less than 40 points in a game. They've been amazing offensively. Alonzo Barnett has really come on since taking over as that full starting quarterback once again. JMU seems to be the front runner in the group of 5. We'll find out tonight for sure, but if it was up to me, they would be the front runner, and they're the number 20 team in the nation. At number 19, I have Texas. The Longhorns suffer a tough loss, a brutal loss, a bad loss to a really good Georgia team. Gunnar Stockton is playing great football, but that Texas defense got solved a little bit by Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. This is a Texas team that had been able to survive, been able to be a fringe playoff team because of how good their defense had been. Their offense had started to heat up a little bit. Arch Manning had been playing better football, but Texas at the end of the day doesn't have the juice. We could tell from the beginning of the season, and I think that all but eliminates them from the playoff unless a true chaos scenario becomes real, which, with the way that college football goes, you never know. That very much could be the case. Texas at number 19. Miami stays pat at number 18. I want to move this Miami team up. I really do. I want to move them more towards Notre Dame, who's closer to our top 10 here, but this is a Miami team that just keeps losing inexplicable games, right? They're winning games now. They've only lost twice, but I can't bring myself to rank them in the top 15. I tried to do it. I put them at 15. I tried, and then I looked at my list, and I immediately moved them back down. I just don't see this Miami team as a playoff squad right now. My number 17 team is the Michigan Wolverines. They're never out of a season despite a couple of losses until they play Ohio State. Because if you knock off the now number 1 team in the country, whoo, Michigan is going to have a real case to make an at-large spot. That's going to be a huge game to watch in a couple weeks. I've got USC at 16. They've got another chance. If they win out, they've got to play a couple of tough teams. They just beat Iowa, a ranked matchup. They get one more ranked matchup now. USC is going to be a threat in the at-large bids, depending, again, on what happens around the rest of college football. But USC, a very good program. They're up to number 16 for me. I've got UVA, the Hoos, at number 15. They just keep winning games. Chandler Morris came back for them last week after missing most of last game with a concussion, and they dominated Duke. That was probably their most important game of the season up to this point. They enter the bye week before a game with Virginia Tech, their big rival, next 2 weeks from now, I guess, with a lot of momentum. Chandler Morris playing really good football, that defense especially playing really good football, and if their defense can play like that, they're going to win the ACC. At number 14, though, ahead of Virginia, I have Georgia Tech, my highest-ranked ACC team. That is most likely going to be the ACC title game matchup, Georgia Tech versus Virginia. Georgia Tech survives a scare against a not great Boston College team. By not great, I mean a Boston College team that has not beaten an FBS squad yet. Georgia Tech almost lost to a team that had not beaten an FBS squad. That being said, they came back from down multiple scores. They won the game. Georgia Tech is playing with fire. I want to see them be better, but they're playing with fire right now, and I don't know how much I really trust them. At number 13, it's the Vanderbilt Commodores. The Commodores come into this ranking at the same spot they were last week. They just continue to be that fringe team. They're going to need one or two teams ahead of them, maybe a BYU, maybe a Notre Dame, to lose to get into the playoffs. But they're sitting pretty, as I feel like that first team out right now as far as the college football playoff rankings go. Again, we will see what happens tonight when these rankings officially come out. At number 12, I've got Utah. And I know Utah suffered 2 losses against their 2 best tests so far, but outside of those games, they've absolutely dominated. I like them a lot. I think this is a really good Utah squad, and I'm keeping them at number 12. Again, they're in that first team out category. At number 11, BYU. The Cougars, a really good team. They suffered their only loss this season to Texas Tech. They didn't look too competitive against Texas Tech, but they might get a rematch if everything continues to play the way that it is in the Big 12 title game, and that's going to be a big one to show that they have a chance to be in the college football playoffs. At number 10, Notre Dame. You can whine, scream, cry all you want. Notre Dame is a top 10 football team. I don't care. They lost to Texas. They lost to Texas A&M and they lost to Miami. Both of these very good football teams. You can talk about, oh, Miami should be above them. They both have 2 losses. No, that's dumb. You want to know why that's dumb? Because we can play that game with every team. Fine. Miami has to go above Notre Dame because they beat Notre Dame. But then Louisville has to go above Miami because they beat Miami. Oh, wait, but Louisville, they just lost to Clemson. So Clemson has to go above them. You can play this game. You see what I mean? These are part of the resume. You have to look at the resume as a whole. I think Notre Dame as a whole has a better resume than Miami does. You can whine, scream, cry all you want, but if you want to continue to play that game, let's play it to the fullest. Let's put Florida State above Alabama, right? Let's put let's put all of these teams that should not be ranked above the teams that beat them, that they beat fair and square, that are ranked, right? There are reasons we do it like this. That's just the way it is. Let's put Texas above Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma. No, there's levels to this. I understand. You're saying, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. They have this many losses. They both have 2 losses. But you have to look at the losses. You have to look at the level of competition. You have to look at both. I am taking Notre Dame over Miami right now. Miami has lost to 2 teams that are not ranked in the national polls in SMU and Louisville, while Notre Dame has lost to 2 teams that are ranked in the top 20 of national polls, the top 15 of some national polls in Texas A&M and Miami by a combined 4 points. Notre Dame, a top 10 team. They are at number 10. At number 9, I'm keeping Alabama above them. Again, you can make the same argument. Alabama, 2 losses, one of them to a not great Florida State school. Well aware of that. By my logic I just put out there, maybe Notre Dame should be ahead of them. I think Alabama beats Notre Dame head-to-head on a field. That's what it comes down to. I know these technically aren't power rankings, but when you're taking a look at 2 resumes that should be top 10, I'm taking Alabama above Notre Dame. Oklahoma just beat Alabama. They go a spot ahead of them. They're at number 8. Oklahoma in a driver's seat, going to make the college football playoffs as long as they win out. Oregon stays above them, though. They're at number 7. They rise a spot because Alabama drops a couple spot, creating chaos in the top 10. Oregon still hasn't really been tested. Their biggest win so far has been against Iowa, but I trust that program. They've got a good offense. They've got a good defense, and Dan Lanning is a really good coach. They are going to be playoff bound. Ole Miss at number 6. Ole Miss, again, survived a test, but surviving a test is surviving. You win a game, you stay in the top 10. Ole Miss up to number 6. Texas Tech up to number 5. Another dominating effort for them. Texas Tech, a really, really good football team. They're going to be a tough out in the college football playoffs. But Georgia, back into the top 5 for the first time in almost 2 months. They'd been stuck behind Alabama ever since that loss, but now they're back into the top 5. And Gunnar Stockton is playing at a Heisman level right now. That is going to be really tough for any team to beat. When you get Georgia rolling, Georgia's tough to beat. At number 3, I'm keeping Texas A&M there. Texas A&M survives a scare against a not great South Carolina squad, but they have the biggest comeback in their history. Texas A&M down 27 points, comes all the way back to win 31-30 after being down 30-3. A massive lead gone away in just a half, and Texas A&M with an amazing game, a masterclass of a half, showing why they are a great team in college football this year. Indiana at number 2, they hold on to their spot with another big win, and Ohio State also at number 1, no changes at the top. This is the rankings, but let's take a look at what it looks like as far as the college football playoffs go, right? You have out of the Big Ten, Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. 3 teams from the Big Ten. Ohio State as the champion for me right now, but Indiana very much could take that. From the SEC, you have Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Alabama. That is 8 teams total, 5 from the SEC already, and we haven't even gotten to those extra spots that could get another SEC team in. These are just the locks so far at this point in the season. From the Big 12, our ninth team in, it's going to be Texas Tech. They're our ninth team in. They are our third conference. We have Notre Dame as that 10th team in. They're going to get in if they win out. That's just the way it goes. But now we get to the auto bids. I'm giving an auto bid to Georgia Tech out of the ACC. They're my highest ranked ACC team. And I'm giving an auto bid to James Madison. So once again, JMU, the 12 seed, the 11 seed, Georgia Tech, the 10 seed, BYU, 9, Alabama, 8, Oklahoma, 7, Oregon, 6, Ole Miss, 5, Texas Tech, 4, Georgia, 3, Texas A&M, 3, Indiana, 2, Texas A&M, and number 1, Ohio State. This is the way that the playoff bracket looks right now. We will find out how accurate mine is compared to the real guys when the College Football Playoff Committee comes out with a list tonight. We'll talk about it then. But we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to not to college, but to the NFL. Mehrob will join us on the show soon. We'll talk some NFL, we'll talk some UFC, and much more. That's coming up next here on the Triple Threat Show. Welcome back to the welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. When we were last talking, we just went over the college football rankings, 1 to 25, and we went over the college football playoff bracket. In this segment, we are going to take a look at what's going on in the NFL. It was a wild weekend in the NFL, one that saw plenty of upsets, one that saw plenty of walk-off wins, and one that left us with plenty of questions. NFL questions here for us. I have a bunch of them. There are a bunch that I want to ask, and we are going to go through each and every one of them. Feel free to respond in the comments what you think of these questions I have. Let's start off nice and simple. The NFL leaves us with a lot of really great stories, a lot of surprise teams, and a lot of things that we expect that just simply don't happen. Let's start off with one that we all expected to happen at the beginning of the season. The Chiefs. The Chiefs sitting at 500 through 11 weeks of NFL football. The Chiefs now not looking like they're going to make the playoffs. Not only are they not in the playoffs right now, excuse me, but they're behind teams like the Texans, who, let's be honest, are not as good as the Chiefs. I don't think that's a hot take. If it's a hot take, you let me know. But the Chiefs better than the Houston Texans. That's just my thought right there. They're not in the playoffs right now. The Broncos, a 3.5 game lead over the Kansas City Chiefs right now. But it's still the Chiefs. It's still Mahomes. Can Mahomes make them get to the playoffs? Well, let's take a look at what their schedule looks like, right? This is not an easy schedule down the stretch by any means of the imagination at all for the Kansas City Chiefs. They just played the Broncos, lost to the Broncos. Now they have the Colts this week, a team that probably is going to be in the running for the number 1 overall seed in the West. The Cowboys with a new defense. More than anything, they get a couple of guys back from injury. They trade for Quinnen Williams. They get a new linebacker from the Bengals. That is on Thanksgiving. Then they get the Texans, a team that we just talked about. I think they could probably win that one. Another division game against the Chargers. They lost to the Chargers last time, neutral site, this time in Arrowhead. Then they get the Titans, probably a win. The Broncos, again, a toss-up, although I believe they'll win that one on Christmas at home. And then the Raiders, where they'll probably take a win over there. That right there, down the stretch of the season, gives us 3 pretty much guaranteed wins, maybe 4. That puts you at 9-8. 9-8 is not going to make the playoffs. Now, could you run the table? Could you lose to the Colts and then run the table the rest of the way? Maybe. 11-6 could probably get you in the playoffs, but that's not going to be enough to win the division, and that's going to require you beating the Broncos and the Chargers, 2 teams that you've already lost to once before. That's also going to require you to beat the Texans, who are built very similarly to the Broncos. And if you have trouble with that Broncos defense, that's an even better Texans defense, believe it or not. At least I think it is. That Texans defense is nothing to scoff at. We'll see how real of a team this is, because if they fall to 5-6 against the Colts, their playoff hopes, especially in a really competitive AFC, are all but dashed, right? You look at some other teams that they're competing with, the Jaguars, for instance, a team that they've already lost to, their schedule down the stretch. The Cardinals, the Titans, the Colts, the Jets, the Broncos, the Colts, and the Titans, right? That is a pretty easy schedule. You play the Titans twice, you play the Cardinals right there. That's 3 wins. You play the Jets, that's 4 wins, right? Then you have probably 1 win against the Colts. They always seem to beat the Colts one time. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville in almost 15 years. It's been a very, very long time. So you can count 1 win. That's 5 wins right there. And the Jags already ahead of you in the playoff race right there. That is going to be tough. You have to find a way to beat them out. You also have to find a way to beat out the Chargers in your own division, who you have games against. You have to find out a way to beat out any of those other wild card teams. The Bills are going to be a wild card team. You lost to them. They have a tough schedule, right? They have the Texans, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Browns, the Eagles, and the Jets down the stretch. That's probably the toughest schedule we've been over so far. This is not where you want to be if you're the Chiefs, and I think they probably miss the playoffs. Maybe that's insane. Maybe it is. But I mean, at 5-5 right now, it happens, right? The Patriots didn't make the playoffs every year. A lot of that was because of Tom Brady injuries, but this is not a good look for Andy Reid and the Chiefs. They'll bounce back. They need weapons. They need to revamp that defense, and they just need to win more convincingly. They haven't won. They've been playing so many one-possession games, and they're 0-5 in one-possession games. Last year, 11-0. This year, 12-0 last year. This year, 0-5. A really dangerous team meets a very dangerous very dangerous situation. They're still a good team. There's no doubt about that. They're still a really good team, but I just don't know if they are a playoff team this year with the way that the standings, the way that these games are going so far. I've got more NFL questions for you, but I've got to run. I got more NFL questions. We'll go over them tomorrow. We got NFL questions. We have NFL power rankings. We have UFC. We have so much more to go over. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. We will be back tomorrow morning. Big show. NFL, UFC, NBA. So much to talk about, so much to do. We'll be back tomorrow.